A massive start to this series with a comeback victory, 4-3 for the Toronto Blue Jays.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. As always, I'm Brayden Iwasko. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Brayden5 Iwasko. Carter First, too, as well on our main Twitter account at Locked On Jays. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Blue Jays. And if you're new here to YouTube, make sure you hit that follow, subscribe button. It's free. You might as well do it. I think we're like one off of like 3,400. So hat tips to all of you guys that have been here forever, and or the new people that are joining us. You get your shorts, your podcasts, your live streams, the videos, the whole ordeal. So hit that subscribe button. A lot to get into, obviously. A massive start to this series for the Toronto Blue Jays. And just looking around at sort of what else happened around the league and how important that is. It's more important than ever to be scoreboard watching. So we're definitely doing some of that as well. We'll talk a little bit about the bottom of the order and their ability to get jobs done, especially in this special time with Bichette on the 10-day IL. So we'll talk about that as well and sort of how he fits into all of this. Also an update on Anthony Santander as well for those of you following that saga. And then, of course, we'll tee up the final two games of this series. But Carter, my man, massive start to this series. How did you feel? I mean, what an electric game.
Playoff atmosphere, late inning comeback, bullpen just looks phenomenal. And then Tyler Heinemann, out of all people, comes in and kind of saves the day. Just a picture-perfect game. That exactly what you want to see. Maybe, I guess you want to see without the fireworks. You want to maybe breathe a little bit easier throughout the game. But hey, like for the entertainment value you got from this game, just it was really good from start to finish in terms of that. But obviously, things could have gone a lot better for the Toronto Blue Jays. Shane Bieber probably had a couple pitches that he would like back, especially on those off-speed pitches, particularly the slider. He hung a couple of those and paid for him a few times throughout this game. Did not look good for the Toronto Blue Jays early on. They were getting no hit through 5 innings. That's never going to be a recipe for success, but they continue to show their grittiness and their ability to just never give up, their perseverance, and their just ability to battle throughout at-bats. At the start of the game, it wasn't going very well. Throughout the middle of the game, started to find something a little bit. And then they get to Abreu in that 9th inning. IKF again with that same mentality of no matter who it is, everyone contributing on this baseball team. It's a lot of fun knowing that no matter where you are in a baseball game, that you can come back at any given moment. You start to get some bullpen stability. This team is I'm not going to say unstoppable. I almost went there, but I'll say this team can beat anybody and everybody at any time if their bullpen and offense are corresponding and playing together the way they are.
Yeah, I mean, this game just had a lot of it was worrying stuff at the beginning, but then I think you're right. Seeing the grittiness and the heart of this baseball team that's been so prevalent all season, right? The ability to battle back is such a big component for a ball team, especially as you get closer and closer to the playoffs here. So, yeah, I had some complaints in this game, and we'll get into all that. We'll get into the good parts as well. That we do have a ton to talk about in this second segment, so I want to save enough time for that. So let's just jump right into the game. Shane Bieber, 5 2/3 innings, 9 hits given up, 3 runs, 4 Ks, and a walk. And really, Carter, at the end of the day, I liked what Shane Bieber was doing. I think the locations was getting better, but there was still some pitches that were just being hung, and that's going to kill any pitcher. And again, we have to remember that this is only this guy's 4th outing. So I'm not hitting the panic button on Shane Bieber. I'm not saying, oh, this is a bad move, blah, blah, blah. Nothing like that yet. There's still a few more outings we'll get to see of him here before the playoffs. And a guy I think that where his ceiling can be, I think you just keep rolling with him and let him work out these little kinks that he's going to have. And I don't think anybody should be shocked that he's not going up there and throwing, 7 innings of no-run ball every time, because How can you expect any pitcher coming back from that long of an injury to come in and just look absolutely perfect? And he looks pretty good. He doesn't look perfect, but he looks pretty good. And so I think that there's stuff he can build on from there. So I'll let you take it for the Shane Bieber stuff.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been kind of where you expected him to be coming off of rehab. But at some point, like you have 18 games left now after this game. There's 17 left. You're running out of time to be like, okay, like he has, like you're running out of time to give him the benefit of the doubt is kind of where I'm getting at here. Is that, yes, like it's not unreasonable to expect him to be where he's at right now. But unfortunately, with this little bit of the setback that he did have and just the timetable, like we need him to be ready. And we need him to be ready right now. Like there is no more time to wait for Shane Bieber. And these are the starts that are going to prove to John Schneider in the front office. Is he a playoff starter? Like, is he a guy that's on that 3-man rotation? And where do you want him? Do you want him as your number 1, your number 2, your number 3? Do you want him, somehow coming out of the bullpen? I think that's pretty much off the table at this point. I think for us, we can pretty much say that he is one of the top 3 starters. Just where are you going to roll him out? Is he your number 1, or is that Kevin Gausman? Is that Max Scherzer? So at some point, he's going to have to show you what his complete potential is and what we can expect of him down the stretch in a playoff run. So the time's running up for Shane Bieber, but there's been a lot of positiveness. Like I don't want to take away anything from that. Again, you have a few sliders where it was really the issue that he did hang a couple. Really had a pitch mix going in this game where he didn't just use like that slider, changeup, and fastball combo. Used the knuckle curve a lot in this game. Used the cutter actually as well. He was really using all 5 of his pitches kind of in unison and really just shuffling one in for another one and using them all fairly equally throughout this entire baseball game. So it's interesting to see a little bit of a different attack strategy from Shane Bieber in this game. But like that wasn't going to be the issue when you looked at this game. It was the Jays getting no hit throughout the first 5 innings. Want to bring this up as well. Louis Ortiz coming back from Tommy John surgery, been out for 2 years and makes a second start against the Toronto Blue Jays. Again, at that point, was no hitting them. Did look pretty good, but then he throws a pitch and points right at his elbow. Pretty much says like, hey, I'm done. I can't go anymore. And it did not look very good. So wishing him the best on his road to recovery. Hopefully it's nothing major, but it was not a great look watching him, especially with the injury history.
No, Carter. And you know what? Like, as much as we want to win ball games, injuries like that, you just hate to watch, right?
It's Louis Garcia, not Louis Ortiz. Louis Ortiz is the cheater from Cleveland. So just mix those two up.
Yeah, I knew where you were going. But yeah, no, it doesn't matter, right? At the end of the day, this is guys' careers, their livelihoods. And you just don't ever like to see an injury. You want to be able, at this point, you got to be able to beat the best to be the best. So, yeah, that was just a brutal look. So I want to leave it there. There's not much really to get into. It just, it did look really bad. And you think you knew it right away that, hey, this guy's coming out of the game here. So don't get me wrong. I think at the end of the day, it helped the Toronto Blue Jays, but sad to see for him for sure. Another guy, Carter, I just want to talk about before we talk a little bit about the bullpen is just George Springer. This guy just continues to be awesome. And I want to go back to that. What would have that been? The 10th inning, I guess, where he came back up to the plate. He wasn't going to get a hit there. They went over his record versus who would have that been, I guess, pitching at that time? Would have that been Kimbrel or Abreu at that point?
Kimbrel was in the 10th inning, and then Abreu would have been the 9th inning. So I'm just trying to remember where George Springer would have come up in that moment.
Yeah, that would have been the... No, that would have been in the 9th inning. That's right, because it was against Brian Abreu, and Brian Abreu pitches very well against George Springer. So just wanted to clear that up. But I sort of just knew in the back of my head, George Springer ain't the guy for this one. Because as much as I say I'm not a stats guy and everything, when you look into the stats and what Brian Abreu and how he's been doing against George Springer hasn't done well. So it was just one of the situations. But George Springer does get the home run in the game to sort of light the spark in the Toronto Blue Jays, something he's been doing all season long, Carter, and he just continues to be that guy.
Yeah, would have been nice for him to come through against. It was Bobby Abreu. That was after the IKF single, comes up with runners on 3rd and 2nd. And you want him to come through. You don't even want him to go to the extra innings because the Rogers Center, the momentum was, you could feel it through the TV screen. It was an absolute electric factory. Like you could have powered the entire city of Toronto with the electricity coming out of the Rogers Center after that IKF single. But yeah, it's unfortunate to see that he can't come through in that big scenario. But again, it kind of starts things off in that sixth inning where he gets the first hit of the ball game, and it is a home run, George Springer's longest home run of the season at 450 feet. So yeah, they get to Abreu. As soon as Craig Kimbrell comes in, they have to rely on Craig Kimbrell, to get some outs in extra innings. Like, you kind of figured that it was over, especially after Vladimir Guerrero Jr. makes a very, just heads up play, a very good play by Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Strong throw across the diamond absolutely leaves Jose Altuve hung up out to dry at third base. And that just kind of deflates the Astros right there. You don't score as the away team in the top of an inning in extra innings. Usually that's not going to bode well for you, especially when Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is the guy that is leading off the inning on the other side of things. Then Miles Straw being at second base. Like, it just kind of worked out perfectly in that extra inning. Again, you want George Springer to kind of end things off there, not even give the Astros a chance, but it did work out very well. And what an elite inning comeback it was for the Toronto Blue Jays. Ernie Clement getting on base, a very nice single there as well. Walk to start the inning. Like, IKF, just that at bat, multiple sliders to start the AB. Gets a third slider as well, and he's ready for that one. It's as it catches a lot of the plate, hammers it into center field. Like, the IKF edition, as much as like some people might not like, and there's not going to be there's not going to be that many good moments. There's probably going to be more bad moments, unfortunately, with IKF at this point in his career, then there's going to be good moments, especially with the way the Toronto Blue Jays roster is organized. Like, IKF isn't necessarily going to be thrown in as a defensive specialist, even though that is what he should be. And like, I'll backtrack, and maybe I will say like he will be thrown in as a defensive specialist, but IKF is now, with the Bichette injury, going to be thrown in more situations where he is going to need to be better offensively and expected to do more offensively. That's kind of where I was trying to get at. Is that with an injury now, there's going to be more expectation with IKF. He can't just go in there and be that defensive replacement. He's going to have to hit at some points as well. So what a better time to start hitting than the ninth inning in a massive game, Brayden says, must-win series against the Houston Astros, putting more and more separation on them and the right now the leader in that division for that the bye kind of standings that we're going to have to undertake and scoreboard watch as the season progresses.
Yeah, just a great at-bat and a just great knowledge of not only the strike zone, but what pitches the Blue Jays want to hit, and a team that's been so good at waiting for the pitch that they want and working counts. I mean, the Davis Schneider at bat again, you know what, for a guy that's coming off the bench in certain situations, you got to give him hat tips for being able to go in there, work that walk. He definitely got his ace swing off, fell to a knee, swinging at that 3-2 pitch. Or 3-1 pitch that became the 3-2 pitch. He took a hack and then was able to watch that another fastball go on the outside of the plate. Really big hack tips to Davis Schneider to make that all happen. So yeah, just some massive moments here from some big players. And that's not even talking about, I believe it is now 6 consecutive games with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. getting multi-hit games. So this guy is not only heating up, but he's coming through in big situations. I mean, you know, he was, I don't know if there's anybody more fired up about a infield single than Vladimir Guerrero Jr., but yeah, he was fist bumping and everything. So good on him. He's been able to do the job for sure.
Yeah, at that point, that's traditionally, I mean, with Vladimir Guerrero Jr., you probably want him to just win the baseball game there. But traditionally, with the first guy in that scenario where you only need 1 run, is you want to move that runner from second to third. It's, you know, it's an infield hit. It's not the way you want it to necessarily be done for your $500 million player, but hey, it works. And you could tell that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. definitely cares about winning and cares about hopefully getting a bye. And you saw that demonstrated after he got to first base, because he was probably the most fired up player, the most fired up person, we'll say, even in that entire Rogers Center. So yeah, you want him to drive the ball in the outfield, but hey, we'll take those little choppers, I guess, in the infield as well, if it's going to serve a purpose. Because that is the big mentality of this team, is that it's not about the individual stats. It's like there's no real standout player. Like, yes, there's George Springer, yes, there's Bichette that have been big driving forces of carrying the offense, but there's no like real standout player. Like, we don't have an Aaron Judge, there's no Cal Raleigh here, there's no Shohei Ohtani that's really standing out and carrying this team day in and day out. It's been all in one mentality. That's exactly what Vladimir Guerrero Jr. showed in that at bat as well. It's that it doesn't have to be like this massive hit. Sometimes it can just be that gritty swing that's just enough to do exactly what it was intended to do in that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's sort of the way that this team was built, right? They need an all-in mentality and everybody doing their part. And I think that was nice to see. Is it's not Vlad being upset that, oh, I didn't score that run, or I didn't win the game, I wasn't Mr. Superstar. It was, I came in and did a job, passed the baton to set this team up to win. And I think that is something that I really appreciate about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. There would be guys that would be hanging their heads and just walking to first base being like, oh, thank God I got away with that one. Whereas Vlad understands the situation. So that was really good to see as well. Just the mentality of him. But Carter, I'll throw it over to you to talk a little bit about just how this bullpen did today and your opinions on them.
Yeah, just Jeff Hoffman continuing to bounce back from the blowout performances that he has. It's Jeff Hoffman. We talk about it all the time. Is he really just gets his money's worth when things don't go well? Like, he's not just going to give up one run. He's probably going to give up 3 or 4, and he's probably going to give up 2 absolute moonballs. Like Yariel Rodriguez starting to look really good once again. Brendan Little still looking scary out there. I'm not going to lie. Has a walk again in this outing. Has some moments where just as soon as he's throwing the knuckle curve, like, you just know it's not going to be a strike. And then sometimes that makes you feel like, oh, if he throws the fastball in the zone, it's going to get absolutely crushed. So I'm still on the fence with Brendan Little, where he's not in my circle of trust, and he has still shown that the command can be an issue at times. Sir Anthony Dominguez, maybe being a little bit more wildly effective than Brendan Little. Maybe Brendan Little can take a page out of Sir Anthony Dominguez's book, because you do have the insane stuff. You have the command go awry at sometimes, but he can dial it in the big moments. So you're starting to see, again, a little bit more stability out of this bullpen. And that's when this team is going to be lethal. That's when this team is going to be able to do the most amount of damage. So it's a trend that you'll look to see continue down the stretch for the Toronto Blue Jays as they continue to shape this circle of trust that has been transforming, especially since this trade deadline.
Yeah, Carter. And you know what? I think that'll be something I'll look back on sort of when this season comes to an end before the playoffs, is looking back, what are the overall bullpen numbers in September in comparison to August, to see if that transition does happen and would have happened before the playoffs to set this team up for success. So something I'll be looking at towards the end of the month, towards the end of the season, to sort of make my opinions on how this bullpen can be in the playoffs. But in saying all that, Carter, we got a ton to talk about still. Obviously, Bo Bichette, Anthony Santander, and a little piece you wanted to throw in on Buck Martinez saying something about the New York Yankees. We'll do a little scoreboard watching as well in the third segment, plus talk a little bit about the rest of the series. Still a lot to come here on this episode of Locked On Blue Jays. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. You guys know how much I love FanDuel. I place my bets. I'm a betting guy. I like to have some fun, maybe on some teams that I don't necessarily care about, just so I get a little enjoyment out of those games. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use anywhere on the app you want. And you know what? I got a parlay coming here for the NFL week. I always place them a little bit early. I got the Dolphins to win. I have the Ravens to win. Their money, both money lines. And then one more as well that I can't remember. It was a 3-leg parlay. And it was the 49ers to win as well in their money line. So ride with me, don't ride with me. It's football season. It's back. I'm so pumped up, and you guys should be as well. And you should be pumped up to take advantage of that special offer. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
Today's episode is also sponsored by Nutrafol. You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, sure, like that actually works. There are so many hair products out there, and it's hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything. But that's why you should take a closer look at Nutrafol. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. And it's not just hype. This is a supplement clinically tested that targets the root causes of thinning and shredding with a proactive approach. Whether you are at work, out with friends, or even are just getting ready in the morning, Nutrafol gives you the most confidence in your daily routine. I love that Nutrafol is simple and it's an easy add to your day. 4 pills with a meal, no prescription needed. It is super easy, and you can feel good about it knowing that Nutrafol is NSF certified and backed by peer-reviewed studies. See thicker, stronger hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering Locked On MLB listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code Locked On MLB. That is Nutrafol.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB.
So, Carter, a lot to get into. We'll start here. Bichette, 10-day IL stint. We knew probably something was coming just as he ran into the catcher at the end of last series there, or in the second game of that series, I believe it was.
Yeah, second game.
And then came back that game after the rain delay. Third game didn't play. And we knew, something was coming down the pipeline. It's going to be other guys are needing to step up here. You got to get Bichette back in for a few games, hopefully, before the playoffs. Not a great time for this to happen. But if anybody can bounce back in the last, 9 or 8 games of the season, it will be Bichette. So not great, but it's not worst case scenario either.
Yeah, I think an injury at this season, though, like it's almost as close as you can get to worst case scenario, because any time off at this point in the season is not going to do well. We see a lot of the times when these players hit the IL for any time that's more than 4 days, 5 days. If you're going to go on the IL, you assume that's going to be at least 10 days. So, but we've seen players have a tough transition back, and these games again are going to matter more. Maybe you do have some time where if the Blue Jays go on a run here, maybe the last week doesn't matter, and that can be beneficial to guys like Bichette, guys like Anthony Santander. If Nick Sandlin's available, it's being looking more and more likely that he's not going to be. But with Bichette, it's not great timing whatsoever. And I hate to be this guy to bring it up, but I feel like it's kind of needs to be said, is that if this is kind of the last hurrah for Bichette in Toronto, I hate saying this, but we're kind of getting some of the time taken away from us a little bit here, where we've had the last couple weeks of Bichette, at least for the regular season. This could be the last time we see Bichette in a Toronto Blue Jays uniform. And now all of a sudden, guy is on the IL when he's been one of the hottest hitters in all of baseball. So it's not just, obviously, he's immensely important to the Toronto Blue Jays' success and hopefully to their chance at getting a bye and winning the AL East. It's not just that. It's that we might be running out of time to see Bichette in a Blue Jays uniform, and we are getting robbed of that as well. So just everything that goes into Bichette being hurt, that slide, just the way he did the slide, the technique and fundamentals he used in that slide to the result from it, the way that New York Yankees series went to the way we're at now. I mean, you get a little bit of joy back from that Astro series, but everything that had to do with that Bichette injury, not very fun for us Toronto Blue Jays fans.
No, even though I'm on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, I fully believe that Bichette will be back as a Toronto Blue Jay. Call that dumb optimism.
Well, that's not what I said. I didn't say that he's gone. I'm just
saying.
No,
I know.
He could be gone.
Yeah, I'm not even putting that in my mind. I fully believe that he's going to be back, and we'll get another how many ever years of Bichette. But in saying that, you're right. It's definitely not the most optimal time. And in saying that, for not most optimal times, here's your Anthony Santander update. This is from Ben Nicholson-Smith. Anthony Santander's back tightened up on him after taking lots of swings, so his rehab assignment has been delayed by a couple of days now. Jays still hope he returns this season. I don't know. Par for the course of this guy at this point. Jesus.
Yeah, you're running out of time. At least with Bichette, he can come back to the Toronto Blue Jays September 17th, which is the first series against the Tampa Bay Rays. So you'd have Rays, Red Sox, and the Rays again. So we'd get maybe 8 games. That's if he comes back the first day that's available. With Anthony Santander, he hasn't, there's no timetable at all. He was supposed to have games Tuesday, the day that we're recording this, that you guys are going to be watching this on the Wednesday. So now it's getting pushed back a few days. The minor league season ends, third week September. The Toronto Blue Jays season ends at the end of September. You're not using the playoffs to get Anthony Santander's feet wet. I think at that point, maybe he comes in for a pinch hitting scenario, but like I said in the last episode, I talked about this. I went on the Fan 90 for Sportsnet in Toronto as well. I told them, and I'm going to tell the same thing to you guys, is that the expectation for Anthony Santander is kind of the same as Alek Manoah, is that there should not be any expectation. If he does literally anything positive for the Toronto Blue Jays, great. And that should be taken as a complete surprise, and it should not be taken as this guy is going to do anything for any certainty for the Toronto Blue Jays. Just any positive should be taken as unexpected and as a surprise. But you'd obviously be happy if Anthony Santander can contribute in any facet.
Yeah, it's just sort of what I expected right from when this injury sort of started to happen. I had the feeling that this guy wasn't coming back this season.
And it's funny, when we did this with Max Scherzer, I said that he was going to be out for a little bit longer. You're like, no, all the reports are good. What can go wrong? And then, if it can happen to 41-year-old Max Scherzer, I guess, maybe it should be the opposite. But if it can happen to Max Scherzer, it can happen to other players. is happening to Anthony Santander. So I think you're kind of learning a little bit about what can happen with a lot of these injuries. I learned my thing from Christian McCaffrey in fantasy football. That's where I learned that as soon as you see one injury, it can spiral into a whole mess of other things. So that's where I took my medicine.
Yeah. And you know what? It's it all happens, but that was sort of where my mentality was at here with Santander. It just wasn't seeming like there was any updates coming out. At least with the Max Scherzer one, you were getting positive or somewhat, or at least updates. Whereas for a long time with this Anthony Santander one, we didn't hear a thing. And so that was very concerning. And that made me think, oh God, this is way worse. And turns out, yeah, if he comes back, it's going to probably be like the last week of the season, maybe at best, if that. So anyway, I know you wanted to get into some stuff on of what Buck Martinez had to say about the New York Yankees before we throw things over and start talking a little bit about scoreboard watching and the remaining 2 games of the season or of the series. Jesus.
Yeah, I'm going to throw a little bit of the scoreboard watching into this segment as well. Is that the New York Yankees were starting to falter a little bit at this time, and they did not have a very good 7th inning against the Detroit Tigers. If you guys were watching, the New York Yankees lost to the Detroit Tigers, so the game, the lead in the AL East now is back to 3 for the Toronto Blue Jays, technically 4 because they own the tiebreaker as well. So things are looking pretty good. But Buck Martinez was talking about the New York Yankees. This was on the broadcast, but he's under a little bit of fire for this quote here. It's kind of like the Michael K. first place quote about the Toronto Blue Jays, just reversed in Yankees terms here. So this is what Buck Martinez had to say about the New York Yankees on the broadcast during the first game against the Houston Astros. So this is the direct quote I got from the broadcast. He says, the Yankees, they're not a good team. I don't care what their record is. They have a lot of wild pitches. They make a lot of mistakes in the field. They don't run the bases very well. If they don't hit home runs, they don't have a chance to win. A lot of Yankees fans on this post, John Boy ended up reposting it, and this is where I kind of saw some of the fallout happen. So yeah, John Boy kind of seems like the spearhead of a lot of things that go on in New York Yankees media. But it was kind of split, where half the people saying, you're right. Like, Buck Martinez is right. I've seen this defense play. We've seen these guys run the bases. Like, the first thing that pops into my head when we talk about Yankees run the bases is the Ronald Acuna play from earlier this year, where he's not even really facing third base, catches it over the shoulder. Those an absolute seat to third base. I can't remember who got thrown out over there. I think it was one of their younger guys. Maybe it was Peraza when he still played. Besides the point, he gets thrown out, like, bad base running decision there. You can go to any sort of defensive play that they make. Like, you can tell it's not very good there. Not the greatest team at stringing hits together. Like, they have a lot of power, and that's where Buck Martinez was getting at. So a lot of the Yankees fans agreed with that, but then a lot of fans were not very happy, saying, this is a team that just beat you in a series. It's a team that's 3 games behind in the American League East, behind you guys. Like, how can they be that bad if they're only 3 games back? And then saying how hypocritical that Jays fans are getting mad at Michael K for saying that they're not a first place caliber team. So I just wanted to present that quote and get your takes on just are you seeing where Yankees fans are coming from, and just what's your overall opinion on that quote from Buck Martinez?
Okay. I'm a little bit in the middle. I totally understand how this sort of seems like the exact same situation as the Michael K piece. I understand that. And so the people getting mad about that are probably understandably getting mad about this. But in the same breath, the Yankees are not a bad, terrible baseball team. They have their weak points, and Buck mentioned it. That does not make them a terrible baseball team. They are second in the AL.
That's not what he said. He just said they're not a good baseball team.
Okay, so they're not a good baseball team.
That can mean a multitude of things.
Yeah, okay. So they're not good at fielding. He's right. Their fielding has been terrible. They make a lot of errors. They don't string a ton of hits together, but they do have the power. And I think the pitching side of it, I don't know what he said about the pitching side, but they're a little wild.
Not much. He just said the wild pitches. Like, they have a lot of wild pitches. That can stem from some guys in their bullpen. Like, Duvall can be kind of wild at times. Like, you've seen Bednar having some issues. Like, Devin Williams is just, like, flip a coin. Maybe not even flip a coin. Roll a dice, and hopefully you get the 6, and maybe Devin Williams will be good 1 out of 6 times. That's kind of where they're at with Devin Williams. He's been on and off this entire season, along with a lot of Toronto Blue Jays bullpen arms. So again, like, we're not wants to talk about bullpen right now.
No, and so I guess where I stand is no, the New York Yankees are not a bad baseball team. They just have bad components within their baseball team, but they have other aspects of their game that make up for it. And as much as I hate to say it, and I'd love to be rah here, Yankees suck. That's not what I'm going to do. I think you have to look at this team, and there are a lot of Blue Jays fans that would be, shaking in their boots a little bit to play this team in the playoffs. And don't get me wrong, I think the Blue Jays can beat them, but they're not a bad baseball team. But you know what? Buck stirring the pot a little bit. I'm good with that. Buck, keep stirring it. I love it.
Yeah, I think I know what he was kind of getting at here. I think what he just mixed up his choice of words, which he has done multiple times on the broadcast. Whereas, this is where I would think he's coming from, because this makes a lot of sense to me, is that the New York Yankees, they're a good baseball team, but they're not a World Series baseball team. Maybe people aren't going to like that, especially Yankees fans listening to this podcast, because you see the holes in their games. And when you look at World Series baseball teams, they're usually pretty good defensively. They're usually good at running the base paths. They make the, clutch plays. Like, they do the small things right. And you look at a lot of the small things that the New York Yankees do, and a lot of them aren't done the right way. They aren't done in the most effective way that can be done for a baseball team. So we saw that the holes got exposed last year in the Yankees playoff run. That's not to say that they can't make it back to the World Series. They can't beat the Toronto Blue Jays in the event that they play the Toronto Blue Jays, because this is a good baseball team. Like, if the Yankees are hitting home runs, which that's how they've been winning, 90% of the time this season, they're going to hit more home runs than you. Like, that is a recipe for success. And they have shown that they can do that consistently and beat good teams consistently. But if you're looking at, maybe a 7-game series where, you're playing a team time and time and time again, and you get really familiar with each other's lineups, and maybe it is those small things, one big moment in a series, or maybe even one small moment in a series that can completely change the complexity. I think that might be where Buck Martinez was more so getting at, is that you have so many holes that eventually throughout a 7-game series, some of them are going to get exposed. But saying that, I'll end it with this, that the Blue Jays have holes, the Dodgers have holes, like every team has holes, but maybe the New York Yankees holes are a little bit bigger than some of the other teams.
All right. Pause. Yeah, no.
Of course, you have to be a little crazy and go that way. You mind in the absolute gutter. But yeah, the Yankees just, they just don't do some things well.
Absolutely. And I think that's there. But I think the big thing that I go to is every team has those. Every team has their spots. Does it mean they're a bad baseball? And mixed choice of words, if that's where you want to go. But when you're talking about the Yankees as a Blue Jays broadcaster or anything else, and again, no shot at Buck here, I think that's a fine thing to say. I don't think that he was making any strong call-outs. He was being a broadcaster. He was saying what he felt. And at the end of the day, that's what the job is. And so Buck laid out some problems he had with the Yankees, didn't really dunk on anybody. Fair analysis. Does it mean they're a bad baseball team? No. Does it mean that they're World Series caliber? Maybe not. But yeah, I don't know. Good on Buck. Have your opinion.
Well,
I love it.
Here's a quick news flash: is that only 2 out of 30 teams are World Series caliber. Because only 2 of them make it. So I mean, that's not like the craziest thing to say about a baseball team whatsoever. And I think like the only thing that I'll say about this is that if you were mad about the Michael Kay thing, like you can't be mad about this, or vice versa. Like it's the same thing as what Michael Kay and Buck Martinez just did, is that they commented on the other team. Maybe it was a slight shot at the other organization, but I don't have a problem with either of it. Like, that's the whole point of sports fandom. You don't think that these guys are jawing at each other, pitcher versus batter, on the base paths when the moments are getting big. Like, that's what I like about sports, the competitive attitude. And then if there's a little bit of beaking, obviously within, the right terms and realms, like you can't get, like, some things are off limits, but if you get a little bit of beaking in there to, fire the boys up, like that's something that I'm never going to get mad at.
Gives us the fans something to talk about, right?
Exactly.
You hear Michael Kay say something and we're like, oh, we're Blue Jays fans, we can't stand for this. And then Buck says something and we're like, rah, let's go Buck. That's the fun of sport, right? That's why we're all here. Have a little fun. It's a kid's game at the end of the day. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll take a look sort of at the scoreboard, what has happened last night, as well as tee up the final 2 games of this series. A must-win series is what I called it. We'll take this quick break. Be right back. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like catching a baseball game live. The energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person, but actually getting tickets, that's where the tough part is. Queues, login screen, surprise fees, it takes all the fun out of it. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is the fast and easy and backed by the 100% Game Time guarantee. You'll get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. I always say it. That's my biggest thing. I don't want to go and there be a $20 extra fee or a $30 extra fee. Game Time, you know exactly what it is when you go to click on that ticket. That is the best part about it. They also have their zone deals too. So like certain zones go on sale at certain times. I think that's really cool as well. So you can sort of, do I want to try to wait it out? Do I want to get my tickets now? It's sort of cool like that too. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On MLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDON MLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. So, Carter, continuing on, obviously, doing a little bit of the scoreboard watching. You did mention what happened in the Yankees games. Boston Red Sox, currently, as we are recording this, they are up 5-0 in the top of the seventh. So it looks like they're going to come out with that one. The Athletics don't look like they're putting up much of a fight. Just another thing here, Aaron Judge moves into 5th on the Yankees all-time home run list. He just surpassing Yogi Berra. So there's one for that as well. Just a couple league updates. Usually if there's anything big, if guys moving up and down the leaderboards of certain things, I'll try to update you guys as I can. The Tampa Bay Rays 5-4 over the White Sox. So another team, I guess, to watch, even though, But you know what? You got to keep track of the AL East teams. And it's saying that it was 2-2 in Baltimore and Pittsburgh. And the Baltimore Orioles ended up pulling that out in the 11th inning. So there you go. Baltimore picking up a win, even though at this point, they don't matter even in the slightest.
Yeah, a little bit of a run. Baltimore Orioles, going to end the season 18-0 to possibly make the wild card in the American League. Seems like a lot of the American League teams don't want it. So, I mean, maybe the Orioles going to, kind of, prove that prove the expectation that they had at the beginning of the season. It just, came 140 games too late, I guess. Yeah, with that, there's that last wild card spot that the Mariners don't seem to want. The Rangers seem to be the team out of all of them that are trying to go get it. But now, like, the Royals are kind of in it. The Rays are kind of in it. The Guardians are kind of in it. So it's just a mosh pit of teams down there for that final wild card spot. The Toronto Blue Jays looked, trying to just smooth sail into hopefully the first bye. But if it's the second, like for me, I don't really care about winning the American League. If you get one of the top 2 spots, you're going to have to play good teams by the ALCS anyway. So just get that bye, avoid the wild card series. I'm good at whether it's first or second. Doesn't really matter to me. But guys, going into the second game of this series, a little bit of a switch up. We thought Jose Berrios was going to be the first pitcher of this series. It was obviously Shane Bieber, as you guys saw. So you have Jose Berrios going in the second game versus Jason Alexander. This was the one game of the series that I thought you had to take advantage of just in terms of the pitching matchups. Christian Javier hasn't been great in terms of consistency, so you don't know which version of himself you're going to get there. But I'd rather take my odds on Alexander here. Big would be, again, must-win series in your terms. It's looking pretty good now. If you can just split a series now in the final 2 games, you complete that objective and hopefully gain a game on the New York Yankees, probably not on the Boston Red Sox playing the Athletics. But with every win, and you gain, especially gaining games are going to be beneficial to the Toronto Blue Jays. But if you can just, hold your ground, every game off the schedule is going to be beneficial to the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah, it's massive right now, and that's what I mean, but this is the exact same feeling we had coming out of the New York Yankees series was, okay, now all you got to do is go and split the series. That didn't happen. So, again, you can't just expect that to happen. These boys got to go out there and do the job, hopefully taking this second game and getting the series win right then and there. That's the most ideal, but anyway you get it is fantastic. So, yeah, a lot to come. I'm excited. I'm pretty pumped up to see sort of how the season ends. Hopefully you guys are as well. Everything we talk about today, we want your guys' opinions down below in the comment section. If you've stayed this long, I know lately we've been taking these things like 40, 45 minutes. Sorry about that for those of you who, love the 30 minutes, quick drive. Here you go. But there's so much to talk about every day. It feels like that, it's hard to get in everything you want to get in because the next day something else happens. That's crazy. But a lot more to come from us here. Trying to get back on the shorts, the reels, the TikToks, all that as well. So, you'll be seeing my face and Carter's face all over your phones, probably anywhere you look for the next, month and a half, hopefully maybe 2 months. But in saying that, Carter, anything else before we kick out of here for the night?
No, not too much. Hopefully, for I guess whenever you're watching this is when we're going to be kicking out of there. But hopefully the fallout of the Bichette injury doesn't hit the Toronto Blue Jays too hard. Hopefully they continue getting clutch hits. Earlier on in the baseball game, you still get clutch hits, in the first and second inning. It doesn't have to take until the 9th inning, just so the Toronto Blue Jays know that. But hey, if they're going to get them at any time throughout the game, I'd probably prefer it in the 9th inning compared to the first inning. But yeah, hopefully we don't even notice Bichette is out of this lineup. But I think that's going to be a tough guy to make up the production for while he is out. But just keep your feet above water is the theme of the rest of the season.
Yeah, it is. All right, everybody. Thanks a bunch for watching, listening, however you consume the podcast. Anyway, we'll be back with you tomorrow, hopefully after a Blue Jays series win. We'll see you then.